94 years ago, from a journey that started halfway around the world, my grandfather stepped off the deck of a ship named the Philadelphia and arrived in this place called New York. I don't know what drove him to come here, but I like to think that he believed in the unlimited possibilities that New York offered to anyone who came here and tried to make it. Here in Bay Ridge, my parents raised me and my siblings to take pride in serving our community, because we have an obligation to help our neighbors, just like our neighbors have an obligation to help us. And I took my parents' lessons to heart. I became an Eagle Scout in my church's Boy Scout troop. I was the first student advisory member to the Chancellor, the Mayor, and the Panel for Educational Policy. And I worked for our city councilman, Vinnie Gentili, for a number of years, where I helped constituents solve everyday problems that they would confront. As an aide to U.S. Senator Robert Menendez, I got to work on a lot of important issues like veterans benefits and child support enforcement, as well as conduct an international terrorism investigation into the release of the Lockerbie bomber a few years ago. And now I work at a nonprofit called Citizens Committee for New York City, and we give small grants to neighborhood-led volunteer groups for projects that will improve the community. Community and service aren't just words, they're values that mean a lot to me. People today are upset with the way government is working, or I should say not working. We're frustrated with the way our politicians aren't representing our voice, or they're not voting in our best interest. Recently, a poll came out showed that 64% of New Yorkers are dissatisfied with the direction that our state is going in. 64%. And 74% of New Yorkers disapprove of the state legislature. 74%. A few years ago, the New York State Legislature was labeled one of the most dysfunctional state legislatures in the country. And on every conceivable measure, accountability, ethics, transparency, efficiency, you name the test, Albany had a failing grade. Now, things have gotten a lot better, and it's not everyone in Albany who was a problem. We had a couple of key people who were part of that dysfunction. But things have started to get better with Governor Cuomo in his first year in office. But one good year doesn't erase all of the harms done by decades and decades of dysfunction. We still have a lot of work to do, and I'm glad that we have a governor who has a vision that'll help us get there and get New York back on track. Our state is facing some very, very serious challenges in the future. Our unemployment rate is 8%. Our schools are more overcrowded than ever. Our roads and bridges are crumbling. Our bus and train service gets canceled. And our state government still lacks the transparency, the accountability, and the honesty that we deserve. Worst of all, there are some people who we've trusted with our votes who aren't doing much about it. So we have a choice this November. We can either stick with the status quo and vote to send someone to Albany who's been part of the dysfunction of the past decade, someone whose record in public office has hurt working class and middle class families by defending millionaires and weakening rent laws, someone who calls himself a fiscal conservative while allowing the state budget to increase by $40 billion, someone who inexplicably misses key votes on gun safety, the environment, and the economy. We could take that road, or we could do something better. We can say, enough. I believe that after a decade of empty promises and short-sighted solutions, of saying one thing in the community and doing another thing when the cameras are off in Albany, that we deserve better. We need a new voice with smart, new solutions to help lead our state towards a prosperous future. We need a new voice who understands that public service is hard work and that showing up is not enough. A new voice who will be accountable and responsive to everyone in the community and not just the catered few. We need a voice that's going to reject politics as usual and stand for politics as they should be. We need new leaders to stand up for our middle class and our working class families and businesses, because we're not going to get our economy back on track without them. We need new leaders to stand up for our rights, because whether you're gay, straight, Arab, Irish, Muslim, or Christian, when we violate the rights of some people, we violate the rights of all people. We need leaders to stand up for our environment, because when we destroy our environment in the name of economic development, That's a 19th century plan for a 21st century world, and that's unacceptable. And we need leaders to stand up for our schools and our students, because manipulating test scores and demonizing teachers is not a plan for real reform. 94 years ago, my grandfather came here in search of the promise that was New York. I wonder if he ever thought that one day his grandson would run for public office in search of that very same promise. Fixing Albany and getting New York back on track is not going to be easy. I'm the first to tell you that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be fighting to make it better, even by just a little bit. And I know that together, with your help, this is a fight that we can win next year and in the future. So thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We have a lot of work to do next year, so let's get to it. Thank you very much.